Mayor, Council, I'm Tim Davis, City of Moscow Sanitation Operations Manager. I was asked to give a solid waste roll cart report, and I'm going to start out. There was a series of written questions regarding the solid waste roll cart collection program that were recently put forth to Mayor Lambert by an interested Moscow resident. I was asked to address these questions at City Council, and this report was also delivered to the Public Works and Finance Committee on March 24th. The questions were entitled Solid Waste Ordinance. The city's new solid waste ordinance went into effect August 1st, 2013. Because it has been in effect for 6 months now, I am interested in knowing how effective it is. Therefore, I would like to know, as of February 1st, 2014, question number 1, how many residences are using the 35-gallon cart? We have 2,966 on the weekly service and 385 on the on-demand service. Those are all 35-gallon carts. Question 2, how many residences are using the 65-gallon cart? We had 1,734. Question 3, how many residences are using the 95-gallon cart? We also had 385 using the larger 95-gallon cart. On average, how many on-demand carts are set out per week or month, if that is a better statistic? And we've been averaging approximately 230 per month. How many residences have changed size of their container that they are using? We had 781 equipment swaps those first 7 months. The final question was, one of the advantages which was cited for going to the roll cart system was that it would eliminate the amount of water that the city was paying to ship the waste disposal site. Can you give us an idea of how much of a reduction has occurred in tonnage that we are shipping? Compared to the same time period, August through January from the prior year, which was pre-roll cart, there were 4,281 tons collected during that period as compared to 4,215 tons during the same time period this year. This resulted in a reduction of 65.78 tons, or a 1.5% reduction in tonnage. Since these questions were first addressed, the February statistics have been compiled and indicate that an additional reduction in tonnage occurred from the prior February of 9.98 tons. Since implementation of the roll cart program in August of 2013 through the month of February of 2014, the City of Moscow has experienced a total reduction of 75.76 tons. The City of Moscow also has solid waste disposal agreements with Latah County and the cities of Beauville, Deary, Genesee, Julietta, Kendrick, Potlatch, and Troy. As a result of these agreements, the City of Moscow also records collection tonnages from these municipalities. And as you also may be aware, Latah County and the cities mentioned followed Moscow's lead and implemented roll cart collection programs of their own in November of 2013. From November through February, the county experienced a reduction in tonnage of 38.1 tons. These numbers are very encouraging and demonstrate that the attached lids on the roll carts are minimizing precipitation from infiltrating the waste and reducing the amount of unnecessary water weight that the City of Moscow must pay for to transport and dispose of at the Finley Buttes landfill in Boardman, Oregon. We have had to adapt and make some minor changes and fixes here and there along the way, and folks are becoming comfortable with the program. Several months ago, the city was made aware of a safety concern regarding placement of the carts in the southerly lane of 6th Street, which flows to the east between Harrison and Blaine Streets. 6th Street is an east-west flowing arterial with curbside parking adjacent to the northerly lane, which flows to the west. Residents living along the south lane of 6th were originally asked to set their roll carts off the edge of the curb on the street on collection days. The carts narrowed the south lane for travel to a point that caused legitimate safety concerns. I visited the area of concern with staff from Sanitation, and it was quite evident that the cart placement needed to change. The specific area does have a tree lawn between the curb and the sidewalk, and many of the homes through the area have driveway access from the street as well. After the site visit, I had door hangers printed up for the 30 homes affected by this change, requesting that they place their carts on the edge of the driveway entrance or on that tree lawn. This resolved that issue. So the roll cart program has not been without issues, but we have been able to resolve them as we've transitioned, and I believe it's working very well. So with that, I would like to entertain any questions.
Well, Tim, thank you. Thank you for that report. And I got to say, whenever you have a change, sometimes people are reluctant for change, and there's a lot of questions and a lot of what-ifs, but the numbers and the statistics that you have showed us tonight prove that this saves multiple tons of liquid that's being hauled, and that's a huge cost savings for us and for the people here in Moscow. So that's a big deal. So it seems to me like it's working very, very well. Wayne, did you have a question?
Well, just a couple of things. First of all, real quick math. I think that's about 19,000 gallons of water that didn't end up getting paid for. I really like the roll carts. It's so much easier than dragging trash cans out there. It's just unbelievably easy. I did notice, and I still continue to notice, that we have a number of folks that overfill their cans. The lids aren't closed all the way. I went down the other day. I was going down a particular block where there was a bunch of apartments, and every single one of them, most of them were at least 65 gallon. They were way over full by a couple bags stacked on top. One of the carts was turned around backwards. The wheels were facing out instead of against the curb, and one of them was actually knocked over. And so, first question is, I'm assuming that we're still charging addition. If these lids are not closed, they're taking a picture and getting billed for it.
Correct.
If they don't put their carts out properly, in other words, the wheels are facing out instead of in, are they able to still pick them up?
Most of the time they are. If they're not placed correctly where they can be reached with that automated truck, they're oftentimes left. We did put into place return service where Sanitation will give each resident one free return service each calendar year, and then after that there's a fee involved.
And I did notice the can that had tipped over, it was still laying there tipped over. They didn't, the driver didn't bother to set it right up and take it, which is just fine. He shouldn't have had. So I think it's working great. I like it. When are we going to get single stream recycling? You knew that question was coming, didn't you?
That's a different scenario, isn't it?
For me, but
I'm gonna go over here to Dan.
yeah, Tim. Following up on Wayne's, I remember in committee we talked about how if you had somebody that continually did overages and we're getting the penalties on that. Explain what you guys have been doing as far as helping to cure that.
When we put in place the roll cart program, we also overhauled the solid waste ordinance to reflect the roll cart program, and we put in place where the director of solid waste, which is Gary Riedner, which is directed down to me, where we can upgrade folks that have persistent overservice or I generally give folks the benefit of the doubt, but if I see someone that has overservice for 4 or 5 weeks in a row, I just go out and switch their cart to the next bigger size, and I haven't heard from one of them yet, because in the long run, we're saving them money to get them sized appropriately. So that's how that works. I will mention, too, that when we first put in the computer systems in the trucks and got linked in with Sanitation, so they knew exactly what was supposed to be at the curbside. That program first started, we were seeing some months over 2,000 extras a month, and now we're seeing down around 300 to 400 a month. So it is working. It's slow to get those last few folks on board, but I think for the most part we got the word out and convinced people that the price difference between the sizes of the carts was far less than one overservice. So size yourself appropriately and allow for those occasional extras, and then You know, we don't want to be sitting here nickel and diming folks each week if we don't have to, so.
Tom?
I noticed the same issue that you were talking about on 6th Street in a few other locations. I think primarily we see those in bike lanes, and, you know, hopefully the trucks are picking them up and getting them out of the way fast enough that they don't have that much of an impact, and, you know, bikes can go around and just travel in the travel lane. There may be other spots. I think along Mountain View, there were some tight spots, too, on the south side.
There are a few tricky areas. We're getting most of them weeded out, and I did meet with the Transportation Commission early on in the process and discussed with them cart placement, and it was kind of, the discussion kind of went, you know, would we rather, if we have to have those off the curb, block a bike lane for one day a week or block a sidewalk to where a wheelchair couldn't get through. And a lot of it comes back to the residents themselves. And if they remove those carts in a timely fashion, that's the key, I think, because we have to give those folks access to get that stuff picked up.
And my second comment was that I've noticed a few folks kind of just leaving them out there for the week and not necessarily picking them up within the 24 hours. And perhaps this is a good opportunity for those people that
And when
are
I'm
watching tonight.
And when I'm made aware of those instances, I will definitely call the homeowner or the folks renting and explain to them why they need to have that, you know, rolled back in and what those wheels are for, so.
Thanks for doing that.
You bet.
One question, if I may.
Go ahead.
The folks that are on the on-demand, the way that works is the truck comes, and if it detects a container there, then they're supposed to get charged for that.
If the cart is wheeled out for service, it's considered set out for service, and
Okay.
it's dumped.
And
And
then
if they
it'll-
don't want it serviced, then they're required to pull it back in from the regular collection areas.
Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Tim, for
Thanks,
that
Tim.
good report.